kidding me? Hello, everyone. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Isabella Green.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about jumping timelines.
And what it can lead to.
This is really exciting, you guys. Before we get into the topic of jumping timelines and how we can do it and what it can lead to, I want to just kind of give a definition, because most of you know what I'm talking about when I say timelines, but maybe not everyone. So when I talk about timelines, I'm talking about a possibility of an unfolding, like a possibility of a trajectory of where we can go.
Right.
Do you have a definition you'd like to add to that?
Well, if we consider that things are happening simultaneously in the quantum field of possibility,
yes,
right,
yes.
or the quantum field of potential, things are all happening simultaneously, so we have options to have different experiences in parallel.
Yes.
And because we're in a linear space, we experience in time, but once you move out of the linear space, you no longer experience time. So you literally have access to all possible outcomes, to all possible potentials.
I love how you explain that.
Thank you. And so you can really, your potentials and your experiences match the state of consciousness, or your frequency, which is the state of consciousness. We also call that dimensions, right?
So a timeline is just another parallel reality.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and
that.
When you get into a specific state of being, the higher you vibrate, or the higher your frequency is, the more access you have to parallel realities, and also transcending what we experience as membranes or borders between realities. Sometimes
the veil is thinner.
Yes, sometimes you're able to see all of that, or a number of them simultaneously, or you can plant yourself and move yourself from one timeline to the other, and that's what we call jumping timelines.
And this is why doing our inner work is so important, facing our shadow, doing our shadow work, because when we do that, then we change our frequency, and then we can access other parallel realities, other timelines.
Right, and that also links to incarnations and karmic journeys and our soul streams having experiences in the past, because very often the imprints of the experiences these experiences linger into our present day physical tangible reality,
because we have cellular memory.
Right.
Because we're working with karma and energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can literally trace our timelines that are feeding into our present moment, which we call karma, which we call other incarnations and all of that, by the feeling that we're experiencing through the patterns that we keep replaying here over and over. You become conscious of that, and then you can kind of pull on that, and if you go through, I don't know, a past life regression or something like that, or a session with me, for example, but you are able to trace the entire lineage of that feeling, where it started from. And when you do the healing work from this point on, it literally sends that healing out through your entire timeline experiences, through the entire lineage of that timeline that we're on.
That's why it's so important. You know, you guys have been with me for a while. I say over and over and over how powerful it is to do your inner work. Because when you do that, you're shifting every timeline. You're shifting all realities. And that's how we can jump to another timeline, by healing our cellular trauma. So I wanted to have Isabella with me today because she shared with me this really powerful story that just totally illustrates how we can change timelines and how we can heal the past. You know, if we are speaking in terms of linearity, how we can heal what happened in another lifetime, parallel reality, past, however you want to call it, and actually jumping, you know, this topic of jumping timelines to peace, how we can heal to such a degree that there are no traumatic timelines, because we're healing everything in the present. It's also healing everything in the past. So please share your story if you would.
Okay. like I said, my story unfolded from me digging for the roots of the feeling or the pattern that I have been experiencing over and over throughout my entire life. I did not realize that that was connected to the vision that I was also experiencing over and over throughout my entire life. And the vision was of me being a female character in the tribal times, in the tribal incarnation, very early humanity. But when we already had tribes and territories, and this vision started coming in through past life regressions and dreams and visuals, visions, and it was just popping up a lot throughout my life. So I was in the cave and I was waiting to be carried off to be sacrificed. It was some sort of a sacrificial offering to appease the tribes that were about to go into war. And so one tribe was trying to appease the other tribe so that the war would not happen. So they were trying to prevent the war by offering the chief's daughter, which happened to be me, and I knew that in that vision. And so my experience of that was hiding in a cave, in a really dark cave, behind the skin of an animal, it seemed like a bear, and the male figure comes in. And it's in my visions, it was a different male figure because it was either my brother or my father himself or my husband. But in every vision, it was always a male character that came in and would throw me over their shoulder and carry me to the fire. And as he would set me down for the fire, I saw the whole space was prepared for the sacrifice. The tribes were gathered around. It's nighttime. And there were a lot of really angry and aggravated eyes there. So I basically was sacrificed. But at the same time, I also saw the continuation of that vision. As in, it didn't help. The tribes still went to war. And so I experienced not only my own sense of distress of being that sacrificial female or sacrificial offering an object, but also the distress of the men who felt this sense of failure, that they did that they gave, like this, the distress of the father for giving up his daughter and not achieving anything. Like the level of sacrifice here is really high, and it doesn't lead to anything. The wars still happen anyway.
It's like being martyred for no reason.
Right. Yeah. And so later in life,
I'm just going to stop you real quick because this is relevant to all of us. You know, all of us light workers who have come in here, we all have those cellular traumas. We all have this, it might not be the exact same one, obviously, but you know what I'm talking about. We have these cellular memories that haunt us in our dreams, our visions, whatever. And
the sense of trauma, injustice, and sacrifice. Either sacrifice by the men in this vision, sacrificing something that's dear to them in the name of a bigger cause and not getting anywhere, or the actual female character being sacrificed and so experiencing herself as that sacrificial person, or so the imprint of sacrifice, the need for sacrifice, and also the sense of injustice all around it. So this is very imprinted in the whole...
in the collective.
Yes, in the collective.
And not just the sacrifice theme, but, you know, being burned at the stake and the martyrdom, being killed for the good that you're doing.
Right.
All of that, you know, we all have that. So
right,
this is very relevant, the story she's sharing for everyone. So go ahead, please continue.
So it kind of... so then I'm gonna backtrack here for a moment. I told this story to a friend of mine who was my roommate, and I accidentally moved into the house where he lived when I just first arrived in Sedona, and we started talking about visions of being, of incarnations within the tribal lifetimes, the Native American tribes. My visions were way older than that, but it kind of led to the Native American tribes too. So I told him this vision, and he pulled out the painting where he actually painted the entire thing. And he lived his whole life carrying the imprint of the guilt of that father.
Yeah, wow.
So in my vision, he was the father figure carrying the guilt for not being able to save his daughter,
Sure.
the feminine, the masculine figure of power, not being able to save the feminine divine, right, or the feminine incarnation. So that, right?
Yeah, wow.
So if you look at it, and so he asked me this. He said,
Your friend.
yeah, my friend that I showed the picture, and so we discussed all that. We discussed how he carried that imprint in his present day life, remembering those memories from before. How I'm pulling the same imprints all the way through until the present moment too, because I've done plenty. That also covered, we talked about this, you and I, before, as far as like work, when you're offering yourself, when you're sacrificing yourself constantly, trying to, or you have the imprint that you're supposed to sacrifice yourself in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so he looked at me and he said, so how is it working out for you, being a sacrifice?
Oh.
And I just parked that question. I was like, what's he talking about? Because at that level...
You weren't identifying with it in the present
I
yet.
didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't realize what he was asking me about, But if you think about it truly, right? So how is it working out for us to carry these imprints from these old timelines, from these old karmic, over these old incarnations, old karmic expressions?
How's it working out for you guys?
Yeah, take a look. Let's pause here and say, take a look at your life. Are you playing out the mind frame of sacrificing yourself?
That's something that I've really looked at a lot this past year. It's come up for me big time.
Yeah.
Giving, doing so many free channeling videos, doing all the energy work, blah, blah, all the ways that I give. And there's a part of me that's like, no, this isn't working out for me, because I'm giving too much of myself without being full, without replenishing before I want to give again.
That's the second part of this, the sense of injustice on misbalance. There's no balance here, right? So that's my character in my past lives in this vision was playing that out as well. So she was both feeling she's being a sacrifice and agreeing to that, because she wasn't fighting or anything. She knew that she was, that she had to do that. Yeah. But at the same time, she felt that sense of injustice, and also the characters around her saw the injustice that the sacrifice didn't lead to anything. That didn't change anything. That's the format of thinking that didn't really change anything, didn't help.
Yeah.
So we have both of, we are all pulling that because we're all somehow started from the old souls on earth anyway.
It's good to realize, though, that pattern doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we all have to look at ourselves, us included. Where are we doing that in our lives, and how can we change that pattern? Right. And that's what this video is really all about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So to continue on this, right? So that person asked me a question, how does it work for you? And I didn't know what he was talking about. So a few years went by until this fall, I became very aware of how the whole state of being, the pattern of sacrificing myself, the sense of injustice, the sense of that whole emotional package that leaves such an intense imprint on our incarnations that we pull that from one incarnation to the next. That's what the healing past lives and past incarnations is all about. It's like interrupt that flow. But I became aware of that in the present moment.
Awesome.
And I started, I sat myself down and I started meditating. I started looking at how it started, how I can correct that in the present moment, how I can release all this. And as I'm doing this, I actually completely forgot about that vision. So
You were just present with your inner work.
Yes, I'm present with the inner work, looking at my present life, looking at my childhood, looking at how I've played this pattern throughout my life, and so I'm digging through like this reality, this physical experience. I went to a ceremony, which I hardly ever go to any ceremonies, but I went to a ceremony where a shaman was present, a shaman who sat with the tribes for months in Colombia, out of all places, right? So where they still have the tribes and they still have the practices, the shamanic practices. We had a breathwork specialist there, and we had a sound healing specialist there. So we had the drumming, the didgeridoos, the flutes. We had the shaman doing his thing. We were breathing, and as we start, and it's a full moon, right, in October, and I just get this guidance, you have to go. And I was late for that event, but no, I kept checking. The guidance was like, you have to go. Like, okay, I've never gone, but I gotta go. So I went. And as this whole thing started, all of a sudden I'm back in that cave behind the bear skin. I'm going, oh my God, not that cave again. Right. But the male figure came in, and it was my brother. He came in. I'm in a better place, but I'm still not, because I'm processing it from this reality, from this body, right here. So I'm observing that I'm kind of in a better place. I'm not scared, but I'm kind of nervous, but not really, none of that, like, that tension is going on. So the brother comes in, he doesn't throw me over his shoulder, he carries me, he like actually picks me up and carries me to the fire, same exact cave, same exact path, same exact fire, same exact set of characters, perhaps a different version of the same reality. So carries me over there, and as he sits me down, stands me down, there is my father, who is a chief, and there is the chief of the other tribe. And in front of him, there is a son of the other tribe's chief. And I'm looking at the people around the fire, and I'm seeing happy eyes. I'm seeing happy faces. And my present body, somewhere in the room where the ceremony is happening, is thinking, this is different. What happened here? So all of a sudden, it's a celebration, and the drums come in, and the amazing thing was that the drums that were in the room were echoing through centuries of tribal, shamanic experiences, leading all the way to that moment that I'm experiencing right there, and
the lineage of the drums, like, connected the timelines.
Right. Yeah. All of the shamans doing their work, the shamans drumming, the shamans playing the flute, the tribes getting together to celebrate the union of the tribes, because I am apparently marrying the son of, or I'm being given to marry the son of the other tribe's chief, but I'm happy about it because I happen to like him a lot. I'm actually really enjoying that moment. I'm looking at, I don't see his face. I'm seeing like a wolf skin on his head. How they do that when they take out, I don't know, it looks like the wolf head, so I can only see from like the nose down, and then the skin is hanging on the back of him, and he's facing me, and I'm actually really happy. And as that's happening, and I literally physically am experiencing like him taking my hands, and the chiefs of the tribes kind of shaking their hands there right next to us, and all of the people starting to dance and celebrate. And I know, because I'm there, I know that means that the tribes came together and are going to share their resources, to share the land, to share whatever they were going to go or have gone to war about for millennia, for whatever these karmic incarnations, timelines, whatever that my timeline was linked to. And I'm in that ceremony here in tears, recognizing that we just shifted the entire history
You know what else comes to me as you share that this time? This is the second time I've heard this story. That, you know, in the light worker world, there's lots of ego still, lots of competition.
That's just human.
That's human, yeah. However, when we can set aside our judgments and our differences, and I'm talking to myself too, just so you know, when we can really set aside our judgments and come together and co-create, then we're doing that in this present, not just in the past reality.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful. And I really do feel like there is a call for that, for us to come together, to share our resources, to co-create. Because how else is this shift going to happen?
Right.
You know, how else are we going to jump the timelines? You know, we can all jump to individual timelines, but when we come together with the intention to jump to peaceful timelines, that's so powerful. So you guys with us?
The shaman in that room said, I shared my vision at the end of that ceremony when it was over, and the shaman in that room said, this is so important because there's so much war still going. That's what all of the tribal chiefs that he sat with in Colombia were talking about, bringing the tribes together, bringing the old lineages with old knowledge, bringing the different people's tribes together. And
feel how powerful that is.
he felt that too. The whole group felt that. The funny thing is, like, the entire group was there, you know. But in my vision, the entire group that was at that ceremony here in Sedona, they were all around that fire.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Whew, just go to the...
Yeah,
so what happened was we all went from the place where the war after war after war happens and we cannot help it even with greatest sacrifices, to the space where the tribes come together and share resources and share the land. It literally was acknowledged and recognized by everyone in that room and that shaman that the change in the past was made that leads to the change in the present moment.
And the change in the present moment that was made leads to the change in the past. Like they all work together.
It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing because the timelines are all merged and all happening at the same time. So when we can find that character, I call it character, we can find ourselves in other incarnations and heal from the present moment because you would still carry the feeling.
Yeah.
Find the feeling, then if you want, go and do past life regression. See where that feeling matches. And then we send the healing wave from this reality out. It's not out, it's all here.
And you know what, even so, past life regressions are fine and good and all of that, and not to take away from what you said, but it can be simpler than that too. Like, who around you is triggering you? Who around you do you have judgment against? And heal that. Because they've all been with you before in these other timelines. So, you know, we can do that. Like, if you're feeling super stuck and you need, like, a little more information or whatever, find a practitioner, such as myself or Isabella. Find, you know, get a past life regression, whatever it is you feel guided to. And if you're, you know, if you don't need all that information, just look around you, you know? Like, who's triggering you?
Or if you had an old vision that you keeps
recurring
coming
dreams.
up. Recurring dreams, old visions. I work with a number of people who always go back to being burnt at the stake, and they're like, yes,
that's
same
mine.
here, me too. So going back to sacrificed as this, as that. I was burned at the stake. I was in a battle a lot. Like, if you keep going back to those moments, actually sit with yourself and go really truly go answer that when it's kind of started. It started a long time ago, but it started many timelines ago. But connect with the vision, and send
the energy of it,
and do the work from this moment. Send in that or connect. We have to speak in linear terms. So literally, when you do the work,
it's hard to talk about this sometimes. You have to use linearity.
When you do the work from the present moment, it ripples out into your incarnations, and that's what karmic healing of old karma is all about.
You know what? I got an aha just now.
Okay.
So, I'm a fire sign.
Right.
I came back as the fire this time. Because this time, the fire's not allowed to take me out. This time, I am the fire.
All right. Yep. Whew. Nice. Yeah. Play with the fire. I'm the fire sign too, and I've been burnt as well. And I actually put a tattoo on my back of the fire. So of the sign, fire sign.
Oh, a tattoo on your back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I identified a lot with that.
Yeah.
That burn from within instead of burn from without.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Me too, burn from within. I feel like you guys are really relating to what we're talking about.
So the timeline jump in happens when we change consciousness, we change our state of being, when we release the old traumas that might be lingering all the way from karmic times. You send the ripple effect from this moment out and it comes back, and so you're not dragging that traumatic experience forward again.
Right.
You're
Cellular
not passing
trauma dissolved.
Right.
Healed.
You're not passing that into the next next generation, and you're not passing it into your following incarnations as well.
So that's how we heal our history. Like in our culture, we have so much history of war, and we carry around that cellular trauma, those cellular memories. And how we heal it is by healing the present and doing our inner work.
Right.
I mean, that's basically it. So if you want to jump to peaceful timelines with us, that's what you need to do to find your wholeness, to heal.
Raise your frequency, do your work, release the bricks, release the baggage, the karmic energetic baggage that's being dragged on into the present moment. You know it because you feel it, and then you say, oh, my mom did it. No, maybe mom did it if you're a new soul, first time on earth, but most likely, you're carrying that through incarnations and incarnations, and so you can shift yourself onto a different timeline by doing that healing work, and also by raising your frequency in your consciousness.
Absolutely.
And on your point, Sarah McLean has a meditation institute here, and during the festivals, the yoga festivals here in Sedona, she does meditations for peace for the entire group. 600 people or whatever, 1,000 people sit down for peace meditation. There's not one word there about world peace. It's all about the inner peace.
Interesting.
Because the inner state of being of each one of us individually creates that wave of peace. When you're in balance, when you're in peace, when you're in a state of harmony,
that's what you're rippling out.
You're rippling that out. You're not going to be drawn to create anything that resembles war. We as women, we can pass it on to our children. We can pass it on to our loved ones. We can share that with our partners, the male partners. You can see that movement starting and that movement being all over the world where women get together and meditate. And the message of sisterhood is really powerful. We're more likely to do the inner work, and when we come together in that frequency, in that energy, and we shift all together onto timelines that have no war, we are assisting this planet to find the population in a space where there was no war in the past and no war in the future.
What do you mean we're more likely to do the inner work?
Well, statistically, at this moment, the women are more into working with their emotional states and doing the inner work.
But I have to say, in my world, I have to acknowledge you men in my world because you are doing your inner work and you are feeling. I know a lot of men in my tribe. I just have to acknowledge that because I know a lot of you men are doing your inner work. And maybe that is true statistically.
I agree completely too, because I've noticed that way more men started coming into and taking sessions with me since 2015, and now it's probably 50-50 as well.
Awesome.
But statistically,
Yeah.
and if you take a look at around the world, statistically, I would still think that there are more women that are awakened and willing to move through the peaceful means versus...
Okay, man, let's change that.
Yeah.
Let's disrupt the statistics.
All right.
So, Isabella, real quick before we go, I would love if you would share just a little bit about your work, how people can get in touch with you if they want a session.
Right.
What is it exactly that you do with people?
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you'd like to have a session, you can reach me at isabellagreen.com. It's my name with the .com. How original, right? But I do many different types of sessions.
Okay.
And it's all on my website. But the most popular one, or the one that people go for the most, gives you the comprehensive story about your soul's journey that's relevant to your present moment. And when we look at your childhood in this life, we would look at your karmic experiences. We would look at the patterns that we're talking about here. We would look at your cosmic lineage. If you are a starseed, and I think all of us are starseeds, right? So one way or another, yeah. And you will basically take with you the amount of information and also energetic adjustment, because a lot happens in that space when we do this work. So the work is really multidimensional, and people come to me when they're ready to understand more about themselves and also kind of ready to move to the next level, because
it's
a
all
little bit
online, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep work. It's it's intense. It's deep work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all remote. You don't have to come see me in person. Even if you're in Sedona, the sessions are all remote anyway.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Good to know.
Yeah.
And you guys know, if you want that group support, join the Creation Temple. We meet every week online through videos. We get to see each other. We get to connect. And in that group, we're doing our shadow work. We're doing the inner work. We're creating heaven on earth together. So if you resonate with that, definitely come join us, creationtemple.com. Thank you so much, Isabella, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It was a really powerful conversation. I can feel the codes that you were like, they were just like, I mean, talk about emanation, you know. I know that they translated through the video as well. So thank you guys for joining us. And I'll see you in the next video.
Take care. Namaste.